So in So in my little corner, the consumer fraud corner, when a complaint comes in, it will first go to our triage team. And our triage team is essentially making sure that we can actually handle a complaint. In order for our team to be able to handle something, we have to have both authority and jurisdiction. And so, authority meaning that we aren't forbidden from regulating a specific industry by either state or federal law. So the state of Illinois has some regulations that that state that only they can regulate certain industries. It tends to be things like healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, also lawyers, accountants, kind of more professional activities. The city of Chicago is preempted, meaning we are not allowed to regulate those industries. And then that second arm was jurisdiction. So, in order for us to have jurisdiction to be able to hear a complaint, there has to be some connection to Chicago. Either the business is located in Chicago, the consumer is in Chicago, the harm happened in Chicago. There has to be some tie to the city. Otherwise, we won't have jurisdiction to be able to proceed, and we would have to close the complaint and refer it to another agency. If you're in doubt ever about whether the city has either authority or jurisdiction to hear a complaint, just err on the side of filing a complaint, because even if we are not the proper agency, we work with the Illinois Attorney General Office, FTC, USPS, Postal Inspector. We work with all of the regulators in the city, and we can refer a complaint to one of those agencies if we are not the agency that is able to hear it. So just file your complaint and we'll get it to where it needs to go. So, assuming that we meet the authority and jurisdiction, the next thing that happens is that the complaint is assigned to an investigator. They will collect evidence from both sides. They'll have conversations with the business and with the consumer. They'll collect contracts, receipts, proof of payment, texts, emails, anything, any kind of documentation that went along with the transaction. They'll put all of that together and then they go through all of it and they determine whether or not the business violated any provisions of the municipal code. If they find that that happened, then they issue citations, tickets, and those are heard at the Department of Administrative Hearings. And so those tickets are heard by judges there. I prosecute the cases there, and they can be resolved in a couple different ways. Either they come into compliance, they mitigate their violations, and they settle the case and agree to pay a fine, or there is a contested hearing. Everyone has the right to a trial. If the business doesn't feel that any violations actually occurred, then the city will put on its case. We will present evidence and testimony, and then the judge will decide whether or not any of the violations occurred. And if they find that they did, then they will impose fines, and possibly if we sought restitution, then they will enter the judgment for that as well. So on the right hand side, you can see some of our results from 2022. There were over $6.1 million worth of fines entered against bad businesses, over $178,000 in restitution paid to complainants, and over 400 cases brought to judgment by the consumer fraud team. So, a lot of our complaints do deal with more on the service industry side. The most popular complaint for the consumer fraud team is home repair and motor vehicle repair. We don't see a whole ton of complaints against brick and mortar, kind of big box retailers. But we will talk a little bit about some of the things that we do see, and then some things to keep in mind when you are shopping there this season. So the top complaints that BACP receives include overcharge at checkout, false advertisement, and a receipt not being issued. So those are some things to look out for and ways that BACP does regulate retailers. But a few things to be reminded of. I want to talk about store credit cards and buy now, pay later options. These aren't scams per se, but it is one way that people can get themselves into hot water if they're not paying attention. So with store credit cards, I this is, if you have like a Kohl's card or a Target card or something along those lines where you only use that credit card at that specific store. And then buy now, pay later is Klarna or Afterpay. You see them when shopping online frequently. But one thing that people should be aware of is kind of how many other accounts do you have? How many credit cards do you have to, make payments on? Um, you want to make sure that you're not opening up a bunch of store cards and then not able to keep track of when the due dates are for all of the different payments that you have. These things get reported to credit agencies and you can hurt your credit. So before you sign up for one of those, make sure that you kind of think about whether or not this is going to be something that you're able to manage. Um, the next one is regarding deferred interest promotions. So a lot of times, especially furniture stores or appliance stores will have you there's no charge that they won't charge interest if you pay within 12 months. If you are interested in availing yourself of one of those promotions, you should really consider to yourself, will you be able to pay it off before that period is over? Because if not, then you end up being charged the entire amount of interest that would have accrued for that entire period. And it can be a pretty substantial number. So before you take advantage of that, really make sure that you would be able to keep up with the monthly payments for the time period that so that you won't be charged interest. And then especially for buy now, pay later options, make sure that you are aware of any fees that they charge to make a payment if you want to change the payment date or if you want or end up paying late. Know how much they are going to charge you in fees for that. And then also make sure that if you sign up for auto pay, make sure that you keep an eye on those dates again so that you don't end up being charged fees from your bank if something gets overdrawn, if everything that you're signed up for auto pay gets taken out at the same time, and then you end up um, with your bank account overdrawn, then the bank might charge something as well. And then the last thing is to make sure that you check store policies before purchasing anything. In the city of Chicago, stores are not required to allow you to return something or to refund something. But if they are not going to allow that, they do have to post their policies publicly. So stores have the ability to decide what condition an item must be in order to accept a return or a refund. So maybe they'll require something is unused or unopened, or if it's a clothing item, that they can require that it be unworn. Make sure that you know what the time frame is. So in having this wide latitude for their store policies, they can decide whether they're going to allow 90 days for returns, 60 days. Some can be maybe even as short as 7 days. And then also, particularly for big ticket items, make sure that you are aware of whether a restocking fee is charged. You see that a lot around Black Friday with TVs, and it usually ends up being some percentage of the purchase, 10% or something along those lines, where they will refund your money less that 10% as a restocking fee. And all of those, again, are allowed as long as the store is upfront about what their policy is. So moving on, talking about gift cards. Prior to 2008, consumers were leaving literally billions of dollars on the table. through unused gift cards. They retailers used to be able to put expiration dates on gift cards, and then anything that was unused after the expiration date would just go back to the store. And so literally billions of dollars were going back into the store's pockets. And I think Illinois passed it before there was a federal law. So I think in Illinois, as of 2005, that has not been allowed. And then 2007, the federal government has a similar law. But the regulations that apply to gift cards vary depending on who issued the gift cards. So if it is either an individual store gift card, whatever brick and mortar, Walmart, Target, or a stored value card is something like a Starbucks card or a Dunkin' Donuts card where put your $25 on your Starbucks card and then it's deducted from there. So the rules that apply to this as of 2008, no fees are allowed to be charged. And then they have to either have no expiration date, or if they're going to have an expiration date, then once it expires, the gift card amount is treated as Illinois unclaimed property. I don't know if you've ever gone to like the Illinois Treasury website where they have unclaimed property, but it has to be turned over to there. I don't know that that's very common among the major retailers. I think they have all gone the route of not having an expiration date. But with the unclaimed property, one of the main issues is that people don't register their gift cards. So there really isn't a great way for consumers to know what's theirs if it ends up being turned over to unclaimed property. So one recommendation would be, if you do have a gift card and you notice that there is an expiration date, go to the retailer's website, register the gift card as yours. And that way, if you forget to use it and then you find it years down the line hiding somewhere, you can go to the Illinois Treasury website for unclaimed property and look it up and be able to get that value back. Then there are gift cards that were issued by credit card companies, your Visa gift card, MasterCard, Amex, or from outlet malls, and there's separate regulations for these. So gift cards can expire after 5 years, and the provision for treating it as unclaimed property doesn't apply. And then also inactivity fees or other fees, like uh, asking for your balance, if you lose your card and need a new one, these fees can be charged. Inactivity fees are allowed after a year, but can only be once a month. And then things like checking your balance or getting a new card, they can have fees for that, but the fee amount needs to be disclosed. Um, Promotional loyalty and reward cards aren't protected under these. So that includes things like the Starbucks stars, or your Old Navy cash or Kohl's cash, anything where you make a purchase and then they give you either a card or, little tickets or whatever it is. Those don't count. Those are allowed to have expiration dates. Those are allowed to have fees. So those don't count under these protections. So, one thing to be aware of if you are shopping for gift cards this season is that when you're shopping in store, there can be some tampering. And so, there is a photo on your screen showing two different ways that gift cards can be tampered with. The first one, you can see that on the left, the code has been scratched off. And someone has access to the card number and the account number. And when it's activated, the scammer can go in and transfer those funds or use those funds. And this isn't a case of, one person going in, scratching it off, and then repeatedly checking, although I guess theoretically that could happen. There are programs and bots that scammers can use to constantly check the account number and have that PIN number in there and constantly check to see when they're activated so that as soon as they get a hit that something has been activated, they can immediately act to get those funds so that whoever actually ended up purchasing it can't use it. And then on the right, I'm not sure how well you're able to see, but essentially, a scammer inserted a printed inserted a printed ticket or receipt that has their barcode that goes to their target account. And they slipped it in so that when the cashier goes to scan that barcode to add funds when a customer purchases it, the money is actually being added to the scammer's account as opposed to that card. So one way to protect yourself from either of these gift card scams would be to purchase gift cards through the website. I know it's not as pretty to just send someone an email or print out something printed from your email, but it is safer than purchasing gift cards from a store where the gift cards are just accessible to everybody out in the open. If it's possible to get a gift card from behind a customer service counter, then that would be a safer way to do it in person. And then also, if cards are out in the open, you can just do a little inspection, look at the barcode, make sure that there's not anything blocking or in the way. You can kind of see if things have been tampered with, if things look a little loose around, if someone would have been able to slide it out and slide it back in. Just make sure that whatever you're purchasing, really look at it and make sure that it hasn't been tampered with. So moving into delivery scams, you can take this statistic with a grain of salt, but there was a Gallup poll that said that 93% of holiday shoppers will buy at least one gift online. So that is a massive source of lucrative opportunities for scammers. Literally, almost everybody in the country is going to buy something online in the next couple months if they're doing holiday shopping. And so these delivery scams can be really profitable. Um, we get questions from people, well, how could they have possibly have known that I was getting a package through FedEx or UPS or USPS? And the answer is because almost almost everybody is. So the way these delivery scams work is that you get either a text message or a phone call or an email, and it'll have a link and it'll ask you to go to that link and either provide information or maybe it'll say that not enough postage was paid and you need to pay an extra $2 to cover the cost for postage. And you end up providing personal information or payment information that can then the scammers can use to take a lot more than what you thought that you were actually giving. So a couple red flags that this text message in particular sets off is first the tracking code. If you just open any web browser and you type in whatever tracking code is in this text message, um, all of the major couriers will have results that pop up. So in going to Google and typing that in, that doesn't come up with anything from any of the major couriers. So that is a red flag that this package doesn't actually exist. And then the other red flag is that link is pretty suspicious. The e3fmr.info, what on earth is that? That's not, fedex.com slash whatever. It's just a very suspicious link. It doesn't appear to have any connection to FedEx. So if you receive a message like this or an email or a phone call, think about, did I send a package to someone? Am I actually expecting a delivery? But also, all of these, every courier company requires you to opt in to receive text message updates. So it has to be something that you affirmatively sign up for. So if you don't recall doing that and you receive this kind of text message, that's going to be a major red flag. And if you do have, excuse me, if you do have, uh, if you are concerned that this might actually be legitimate, then you can also always just go to FedEx.com, USPS, UPS, whatever it is, and uh, try to contact customer service and see if there is actually something going on, whether you are supposed to be receiving a package or they'll be able to help you figure that out. So don't rely on information that you get in the text message, though. Make sure that you go to their website, find the customer service phone number on their website, click their contact us. Um, but find that information independently versus relying on a text message or an email address that is in the suspicious message, because they do have the ability to spoof a phone number. So sometimes things can look like it's coming from a legitimate source, but really what they're doing is masking their actual phone number that they're calling from and making it look like they are calling from a legitimate place. So always make sure that you dial a number directly instead of just clicking something in one of these text messages or emails. So another example, this is the email example for delivery scam, and I've highlighted in red some of the kind of red flags that should raise suspicion that this is not actually coming from the United States Postal Service. So, starting at the top and moving down, one prominent way that scammers operate is to try to make everything seem like it needs to be done right this moment. Limited time, you have to act now. So we see that, and then because it doesn't give you time to think, right? They want you to act impulsively because when you sit and think about it and look at it for a minute, then you start to realize that what's actually being said in this email doesn't make sense. But you get this important check your package details exclamation mark, and that can be alarming. The next thing is the photo and the USA Postal Service. Um, that's not the USPS logo. I don't know that USPS ever uses USA Postal Service, but that you can see the email supporting us at ustracking.support.com. Not the email address for USPS. That should raise a red flag. And then in the body of the actual email, we can see that there's weird punctuation. Sometimes there's weird grammar that you see. So you can see that there's a space between customer and the comma. In the first sentence, instead of ending with a period, there's a comma. Again, some weird spacing uh, and punctuation in the rest of it. And then there's a check this out now button. Um, and it would bring you to a link that goes God knows where to either have you try to pay something or to gain access to personal information that can be used or sold. If you if you're on a computer and you hover over a link without clicking it, it'll tell you where that link actually goes. If you're on an iPhone, if you press and hold, it'll do the same thing. So you can see where that link will actually go to. So I don't have an example of this. I think we'll see it in a few slides later. But if you are concerned that maybe something might be legitimate, you can always preview where the link goes. Don't don't click on suspicious links. Preview it. If it doesn't go to USPS.gov, um, then just ignore it and delete it because it's an attempt to get access to payment information or personal information. Um, and then at the bottom, we see Another attempt at making you act quickly. Please note that if a delivery isn't scheduled within 48 hours, you cannot submit a redelivery request again. Shipping and handling fees will not be refunded. Makes you think, oh, better deal with this right this second. I only have 48 hours. Just another super common tactic to getting you to act before you have a minute to think. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was online marketplaces. And there are different rules for different online marketplaces. Some are really only, they're pretty unregulated and they're really only a means for a buyer and a seller to connect with each other. And those two parties decide everything about how they're going to transact, where they're going to meet up, how the payment's going to be made, all of the things the website is really just about connecting people. Some other marketplaces kind of act as an intermediary where the seller might mail the item to the company and then the company is responsible for getting the payment, shipping it to them. So there's just a bunch of different ways these online marketplaces can operate. And so you'll want to read the site policies for any website that you're thinking about using for these secondhand items and learn what policies they have in place, if any, to help get a refund if you don't receive something or if the item isn't what was advertised or if it's not as good of quality. Look into that and see into each actual marketplace to see what kind of protections, if any, they provide. Next is to look at the seller's photos. If they only have stock photos of an item, that might be a red flag. Make sure that what you're looking at is a picture of the actual item. You can look into their reviews and then know what that seller's personal policies are regarding shipping fees and return policies. It can be a common tactic. Someone prices their items lower than competitors, but then their shipping fees are much, much higher. Sometimes they don't, offer returns or refunds. So before you proceed, make sure that you know what all of the policies are that seller has in place, and then also know that reviews don't always tell you the whole story. Reviews can be faked, not just in online marketplaces, but really any online retailer. People can receive uh, something in exchange for providing a favorable review. They can get the item for free. There may be benefits conferred for leaving a positive review. And then some review websites allow companies to pay to have unfavorable reviews removed or hidden. So looking at reviews is, I think, overall positive. Just have kind of a healthy dose of skepticism when you are looking at reviews. If there are a bunch of reviews that are posted all within like one time period, like within the same few days, that might be a little bit suspicious. Maybe they're buying reviews. Um, if they're all written a certain way, it could potentially be that it's just one person, the owner, the seller themselves. So just look through them and really assess them. Don't look, oh, they have 5 stars, they must be great. Really look into them and, like I said, approach with a healthy dose of skepticism when you're looking at reviews. If you're interested in selling as, raise cash for the holiday season, um, those of you with children, kids get so many toys, and during this time of years, they get tons more from friends and family. So if you're looking at offloading some stuff, making some space in your house, raising some cash for the upcoming holiday season, there's a couple things to be aware of if you're going to be a seller. First, beware of immediate responses. Again, scammers have bots and programs that crawl these online marketplaces for new postings, and to be the first response to a listing, because it increases their likelihood of getting someone to go with them and then being able to scam them. I mean, and that makes sense. Think about it. If you are, legitimate person trying to sell something, the first response that comes in, you're excited, you are looking to just complete the transaction, get this item offloaded, get your money for it, move on with your life. But again, when it is really quick, make sure that you are somewhat suspicious, especially if they raise any of these red flags that we'll get into. Um, Another tip is to meet up in a public location during the day, police station, bring a friend or family member if you're able to. And as a seller, you should demand cash in person only. One of the kind of hallmarks that scammers use when trying to take advantage of people who are selling things online is that they'll want to use either Zelle or Venmo or some other cash app, even if you've specified in your listing that you're cash only, um, because their scam relies on those online payment systems. Um, Not being able to meet you in person, or if they ask if a family member can meet you instead, they can sometimes make up, long-winded reasons why they can't be the one to meet up with you and why they need to send an electronic payment. Um, the longer that you give a scammer to convince you that they're legitimate, the likelier they will be of being successful. So if someone is not meeting these kinds of standards that you set up when you're a seller, cash only in person, cut them off right away. I know it seems cold, but it's so risky, because these scammers are really trained in how to be persuasive. And so their stories will make sense. And they're persuasive. They'll might, tell a sob story to make you feel bad for them and why they need this item and why they can't meet up with you. So again, if someone is not willing to adhere to meeting up in public and paying in cash, that's a major red flag. We'll talk in a moment about the scam that they run uh, when they are asking to use Zelle. They'll ask you to um, have a Zelle business account or a Venmo business account. So we'll see what that looks like in a moment. But one note before we get there is that USPS, FedEx, UPS, none of them are allowed to accept cash. So that may be another way that they will try to avoid meeting up with you in person. So the way that that works is that they'll ask that they'll recommend using this courier company, like I said, FedEx, UPS. They'll send an email that purports to be from that company, and it claims that you need to buy some kind of insurance because you are um, sending cash through the mail, so it needs to be insured. So you'll get a link to some, bogus place to send money that is purporting to purchase insurance to cover the cash that the scammer says that they're going to send you. So you provide your payment information, and they take the money and more. You never get sent the money for the item. Maybe you mail the item out, whatever it is, and you never see uh, that that actual cash. So if someone is suggesting that they can send a courier to bring you cash, to send you cash, that should raise a red flag that you need to cut them off, because they are not legitimate. The last red flag would be to offer to pay more than the price that you listed the item for. And I think generally it's offered to compensate, in quotations, compensate you for not meeting in person or paying cash, because of course you are not actually going to get anything out of them. They are going to try to take advantage of you. So the reason why Zelle and Venmo can be kind of risky um, is that they can sometimes convince you that to send the money by uh, pretending to be Zelle themselves and to state that you need a business account upgrade. So let's say that you are selling a camera on Facebook Marketplace for $700 or $600. Um, and the person comes back to you and says, "Oh, it says that I can't send that amount because you need to be a business. I don't know what this is. Have you seen anything?" And then you realize, "Oh, look at my email. I've got this email from Zelle saying that I have received money from Zelle, but I need to be a business user. Otherwise, I can't receive, over X amount of dollars." And so you can see in the body of the email um, that they want you to send $400 to the individual, and then they'll pay you, $400 more than the than the amount that you had agreed upon. Uh, and then that way you'll be a business user, but everyone gets everyone has their money back. You don't actually have to pay it, but of course you only end up sending the money. You don't ever actually get paid for the item, and you're just out that amount. So know that Zelle does not have business accounts. Zelle, Cash App, Venmo, all of these money transfer apps were originally intended for people that know each other. And for that reason, once the money is sent, they're not going to be able to reverse that transaction. So when you use them, you should make 100% sure that who you are sending it to is legitimate, and that you're not, that you're not being scammed. Okay, moving on to banking scams. We talked a little bit before about spoofing. Spoofing is when a scammer makes it look like they are calling or texting from one phone number. And if you were to Google that phone number, it would come up as the bank's telephone number, or not related to holiday shopping, but we see this a lot with during tax season, people spoofing the IRS number so that when you go and you search the telephone number that you think that it's coming from, that it comes up as the IRS. So again, make sure that if you get a text message and it kind of looks like it's coming from your bank or the IRS or whoever, that you call the number on the back of your card. So we can see on the right here that it looks like a text message from someone's bank asking, sending a fraud alert. Did you attempt to Zelle $1,500 to a certain phone number, yes or no, or reply stop. So you can see that the person stated no, and then it indicates, okay, we're going to lock your card and we're going to give you a phone call, except that this is coming from a scammer. So how this actually played out in this case was that the scammer called pretending to be the bank, and they convinced this person that they needed to request a refund from Zelle, and they had the person go through Zelle's website, and they gave them this 10-digit uh, like refund request number, but it really turned out to be the scammer's telephone number. And then for the amount, they had them put in that the amount was a $1,500 refund. And so this person went along with this transaction believing that they were requesting a $1,500 refund from Zelle, but really all they were doing was sending $1,500 to this scammer. So this is kind of one way that scammers can get access to your money. The other one could be they could be seeking personal information. Uh, excuse me. Um, they would send a link and have you provide passwords and usernames. Um, and that would get to kind of your personal information where they can take over accounts. So, a way to protect against this, again, when you receive these kinds of text messages, delete them, but then look at the back of your bank card and call that number and see whether there is really a fraud attempt, or alternatively, go to your bank's website. You can look up the number there. However, for any customer service or banking or any online retailer, I would recommend opening a browser and then just going to the website. So if you're looking for, Citibank's website, Google Citibank and go to their website. Don't Google Citibank or Amazon or Target customer service, because when you get results from a browser, those are not results that the browser is recommending. It the way that results are displayed to you depends on who is paying the most money to appear at the top of the list. Um, so there was an instance a couple years ago where someone bought the right to be the top result when you Google Amazon customer service number. Uh, so then anytime someone Googled that and got that result and found that phone number, if they needed, Amazon customer service, they would call that number, provide, account details, possibly payment information, and just handing all of that information over to scammers. So a way to combat against that is to just go to the website directly. So don't search for whatever customer service number, just go to the website generally and then look for an area within the website where they have their contact information. Next one is regarding shady online retailers. So these are advertisements that you might see as like targeted ads if you're on social media. They tend to be web-based companies. They don't have a very long history. They haven't been in business long. They probably don't have a brick and mortar. They could be selling either counterfeit items or advertising goods, and then what you actually receive is a much lower quality. Um, and then also could take a really long time for you to receive it. Could use drop shipping. Drop shipping in of itself is not a scam. And for anyone that doesn't know, drop shipping is when a business doesn't have their inventory at their location. They are selling things through a website, and then once someone makes a purchase, the item is shipped directly from the warehouse to the consumer. So the business never actually takes possession. They don't do any kind of quality control. It's just being shipped from a giant, likely overseas warehouse. So shipping can take a really long time. And then with these companies, customer service tends to be pretty non existent. You may have to pay to ship the return, it could be pretty expensive. So, one example of kind of one of these shady online retailers is below. We can see some of the hallmarks of ways that scammers operate. 24 hours only. To entice you to act right now and don't think. 90% discount, offering something that's way too good to be true. Another hallmark of scammers. I blacked out the website. I don't want anyone to actually go there, but it was similar enough to what the Ray-Ban's website actually is that someone could be misled into thinking that that was actually the Ray-Ban website and they were going to score a pair of Ray-Bans for 90% off for 25 bucks. I have seen this on, I don't know, Facebook and Instagram for years and years. Your account gets hacked and the person posts this and tags all of your friends and family, and you end up seeing it. Just a general nuisance. So be aware of ads like this. Know that these can be kind of predatory, right? It's not actually Ray-Ban. I don't think Ray-Ban has ever offered a 90% discount off of everything ever. So just keep an eye on these sponsored ads that you get. And then I just wanted to show one more example of what I mean by these kind of shady online retailers where you may not be getting what you think that you're getting. So on the left is a sponsored ad that was on Instagram, and you can see an advertisement for some men's clothing, advertising that it's hypoallergenic, breathable, environmentally friendly, looks pretty nice, and then indicating we're sorry that our handmade workshop failed to survive this disaster. We're selling most of the rest of the clothing at a lower price. So they're purporting that their clothes are handmade, that they had some kind of disaster, and now they need to offload at a low price. Another hallmark is that bit.ly shortened URL. So, you'd click that link and then go to wherever to purchase that item. But I did a reverse image search of the shirt, that middle photo of the shirt, and I found the exact item being sold on AliExpress or Alibaba, which is a Chinese-based warehouse. They do a lot of business to business sales. So we can see that the shirt was not made, it was not handmade. There is no company that is closing and because they survived some disaster. Again, they're just preying on the goodness of people to make them feel bad or to entice them to act. We have to get rid of everything. So you can go and buy this shirt. It probably wouldn't be as great of quality, but there it is on AliExpress for $8.50. So some tips to avoid being scammed by these online retailers that are selling these goods that probably are just not going to be the quality that you thought it would be to pay with a credit card so you can dispute the charge if it doesn't show up. You can actually look at website domain information to see who the owner of a website is and how long it's been set up. If you search a website and it's only existed for a couple months and they're claiming that they've been in business for 25 years, that's a red flag. You can search for address information on the business's website, see if they have an actual location that kind of legitimizes the business. Look for HTTPS, the lock symbol in the web address bar. HTTPS means that a website is encrypted. It's not the only thing that you should be looking for. Scammers know how to encrypt things too, but it's just one part of avoiding being scammed. And then the lock symbol is, again, showing that the website is secure, that your payment information would be secure. But make sure that it's actually in the web address bar and not in the body of the website. In order for a website to actually show that it's protected, it has to be in the web address bar. Don't buy anything without knowing the return policy. Look at independent reviews, Trustpilot, Better Business Bureau, Scam Tracker. And then, if in doubt, don't purchase toys, health supplements, cosmetics, or any food items from these retailers. Basically, you don't know where the item is coming from, if they have the same safety standards. So kids' toys could potentially be made with lead paint, with health supplements. We don't know what's in it. At best, an item might do nothing. At worst, it could be actively harmful. Cosmetics, again, there's pigments in cosmetics that may not be safe for your eyes, safe for your lips. And then with food and cooking items, different plastics can, leach certain chemicals, might not be the healthiest thing. So if you want to purchase a shirt or a purse, maybe that's okay, but avoid anything uh, that you'd put into your body, or that kids might chew on the toys. Um, so just keep an eye on it. Another prominent scam that we see this time of year is fraudulent order confirmations. These are um, intended to get access to personal information. And for all of these things that we're talking about, any company can be a target. I think I talk a lot about Target and Amazon, but there's nothing specific about those companies. I think they're just the ones that I personally tend to use frequently. Um, but any company can fall victim to this. So on the right, you'll see a fraudulent order confirmation, and I have highlighted in red some of the red flags about this email that would suggest to a consumer that this is a scam. So, first, it's coming from help@markyourtrails.com and not Amazon. The approximate arrival, December 19, 18, just weird typos, weird grammar is a flag. And then the track your package, it has a link asking you to follow that link. And I talked about earlier, if you hover over a link or if you're on your phone and you press and hold, you can see where that link's going to go. And would you look at that? It doesn't go to Amazon, it goes to mrcosmetic.com/whatever. And may ask for personal information, payment information. Um, but even clicking on a link could uh, lead to you being hacked or scammed. There are keystroke loggers, you know, other ways that scammers can get access to your information. Um, when you actually just click a link. So, you may think, oh, what's the harm if I just click it and then close it? But even just opening something, like I said, can install, um, malware, or can activate keystroke loggers so that anything that you type on your computer after that, uh, a scammer would be able to see. So passwords, account names, um, things like that. So, if this happens to you and you do fall for a scam, there's some things that you can do and that you should keep in mind. So, the first is that you may be susceptible, or you may be pinpointed for a recovery scam. So, this is when someone contacts you um, to tell you, we know that you were scammed and we can help you recover your money if you pay us money for this service. Don't pay them. You'll lose more money. Don't ever pay any money to try to get money back. You're likely to be targeted for a recovery scam, because falling for one scam increases the likelihood that you'll be contacted by more, and for different types of scams. So if you fall for a delivery scam, then maybe you would also fall for an IRS scam or whatever it is, a cryptocurrency scam. They know that your contact information has a live person on the other end and that you're susceptible to this. So you will continue to get calls and texts and emails uh, from scammers. So that's something to definitely be aware of. And then if someone indicates that they can help you, or even if they say that they're, from a government agency and that they can help you, but you need to pay for the service, that's not true. No regulator requires money in order to file a complaint, not the city of Chicago, not the state of Illinois, not the FTC. You can always file a complaint and it's free. So again, don't pay someone to try to help you after you do fall for a scam. If you paid a scammer, then I would contact uh, the company, however you paid, credit card, gift card, wire transfer, money transfer app. Try to contact the company, tell them that there was a scam involved, and ask them to reverse the transaction. They're aside from credit card companies, most of these are likely to be irreversible, but it's always a request that you can make, and maybe they'll be able to help you get your money back, close out any accounts, debit, checking, credit cards, if that is how you paid. And if they have access to your personal information, make sure that you lock those and close those out. Um, if you gave someone personal information like your social security number, driver's license number, FTC runs identitytheft.gov, and that'll help you create a recovery plan on, how to sign up for credit monitoring and other steps that you should take to protect yourself going forward. If you gave account names or passwords, make sure that you change your password, and then change any other for that website, but then change your password on any other website. If you share a website across different ones, try not to do that. It puts more of your accounts at risk. Try to have a specific password for every single website that you have, and try to make them as difficult as possible. Don't set your password as password, although I think a lot of places prevent you from doing that now, where they make you have capital letters and lowercase letters and numbers. So some takeaways to remember from this would be to pay by credit card whenever possible, because it does, you do have some protection in that you can file a chargeback. So that's always going to be the best way to pay. Check your credit card and bank statements for unrecognized charges so that you can see that you have been a victim of some kind of scam. For transactions between you and another person, use cash only. Ignore all unsolicited calls, texts, emails, and other messages. And I know that this sounds kind of cold, but I promise it is good advice. And I'd like to take a step away really quick from holiday scams and talk about other scams that we see. And the reason why I say to ignore unsolicited calls, texts, and emails, because I think that most people out there, you know, want to be a good person, want to be helpful to others. So I'm going to go through this scenario with you, right? You get a text message saying, "Hey, Sarah, it's Amanda. I'm making chili for dinner tonight. Um, you're welcome to come over. I'd love to see you." Okay, you get this, and your mind doesn't automatically go, "Oh gosh, this is a scam." You think, "Oh, this poor person, like, let me text them back and tell them that I'm not this person so that they don't feel like they're being stood up by their friend." But this is actually the start of two different scams, popular scams. They pretend to be somebody, and then once they get a response, they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." And they continue to text you saying, "Oh gosh, I'm so sorry." And they try to make conversation with you. And I said earlier, the longer you talk to them, the more of an opportunity they have to sell you on something. And they're super persuasive. So, the two different ways that we see it go from that unsolicited text scam start is that either they start to talk about being your friend and, oh, how's your day, and seeing what they can get you to tell them, try to build a rapport with you, and then they offer investment advice or tell you that they know a way to get a certain rate guaranteed back. FTC, I believe, came out and said for 2022 that crypto is the number one way that people are losing money to scams. So that's one method. This unsolicited text. Ooh, oops. Um, but hey, now that I have you here, uh, if you're interested in this, go ahead and sign up. It's guaranteed returns. And then the other one is romance scam. And that is kind of exactly what it sounds like. They try to build a rapport with you. They try to get into a relationship with you, make you think that they love you, that they are going to come visit. They ask for money for, plane tickets, what have you, all based on that one little unsolicited, hey, do you want to come? Hey, Amanda, it's Sarah. You want to come over for dinner? And so that's why I say ignore all unsolicited calls, texts, or any other contact, because it can be really hard to decipher what is really a wrong number versus what is actually a scam. If you do think that unsolicited contact is legitimate, hang up, call back to a confirmed number. If it's your bank, call the number on the back of the card. Um, or just go to the website and find the contact information there. Don't ever rely on information that is actually in the email or text message that you receive. Exciting, too good to be true offers usually are too good to be true. Never send money to get money, and don't pay people in gift cards. I don't know that that's so related to holiday shopping, but we see that a lot in when people claim to be from the IRS or USPS, paying people in gift cards. The government is never going to ask for, an agency is never going to ask that payment be made that way. Um, so don't pay people in gift cards. And then the last one, beware of high pressure tactics that ask you to act quickly. They just want you to act. They don't want you to think, because when you think, you have an opportunity to realize, hey, this is probably a scam. So if you do fall victim to a scam, you can file a complaint with BACP by calling 311, using the Shy 311 app, or visiting 311.chicago.gov. If something happened outside of the city, you can file with the Illinois Attorney General. And then for text, phone, or web based scams, this can sometimes be difficult for the city or for the state to tie back into the city of Chicago, but the Federal Trade Commission is a federal agency that has a lot of resources dedicated to try to track down uh, these kinds of scammers. So a complaint can be filed with them as well. We all have different uh, authorities as well. So even if you file with the Illinois Attorney General, if something does happen in the city of Chicago, it doesn't always mean that the city of Chicago can't also proceed. We're enforcing different laws, so you could theoretically have a complaint with all three of these agencies. So I will leave this page up for everybody, but that concludes my presentation. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
It doesn't look like you have a lot of questions, just like a lot of comments.
Okay.
You're talking about the different scams they have encountered through
Oh,
UPS, Xfinity Mobile.
let me, I'll
You look
take
in
a
the chat
look.
box.
Yeah, let me look.
Okay, I see one question.
Okay, go ahead.
What advice can you give related to a retailer sending a product that you ordered, received it, and it was not advertised, and they don't want to take it back?
So it depends on what the retailer's policy is. Um, when you shop online, you're really subjecting yourself to whatever their stated policies are. And so it's really a matter of having to do your due diligence before you actually make the purchase. Um, in this scenario, I would try to go through your credit card if it's not what was advertised, and I would do a chargeback with my credit card. Okay, and then I see one more. I just got a letter stating that I owe the IRS funds, but they sent it to a private account. How can I tell they're legit? I would go to the IRS website, um, find the contact number, dial that number yourself, and talk to someone through that way. Um, I think that's the safest way. I wouldn't rely on information in the letter. It could be legitimate, it could not. But the safest way is always going to be to find the official website and then to reach out to them directly.
Here's another question regarding the certificate program to obtain credit. To obtain credit, this process is now streamlined. Please visit chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Again, that's chicago.gov/BACP certificate.
I'm seeing a question in the chat. What if gift cards are categorized wrong? It's a gift card, but they're saying it's a credit card. So this sounds like it could be misrepresentation. I'd encourage you to file a complaint with BACP. If someone is misleading you to make a purchase or making you think that you're signing up for a credit card when it's a gift card, or a gift card and it's a credit card, that sounds like a misrepresentation that BACP would be able to accept a complaint on. Um, so I would encourage you to call 311 on that.
Do you see the other one? How do you protect businesses from consumer scammers? Example, fake QR codes and theft.
I think I need some more information on exactly what the scam is. If you want to send an email to the BACP outreach email, we can talk there as well. We can't provide legal advice, but we may be able to provide some assistance. How do you find a retail address when you want to return their product and no return label is available? Um, so it depends on how you make the purchase. You usually have to initiate a refund through the site's website, and follow the instructions from there. Again, retailers are often not required to provide a refund, so it could just be that they don't allow refunds. Seeing a question, could we receive a copy of this webinar? It will be posted to the BACP Chicago YouTube. Um, there'll be a transcript there, and then all of the slides. You'll be able to see those as well.
I see something in the Q&A box. Did you see this one? What if gift cards are coded or categorized wrong?
Yeah, I think we we got to that one. Essentially, if someone is telling you that a gift card um, is a credit card or a credit card is a gift card, it sounds like there may be some misrepresentation. I'd file a complaint with 311 for that one. I signed up for Spark, which is the Walmart delivery service. I could notice that one of the steps required my social security number. After that, the form got denied. I didn't feel safe typing that and it got rejected. How can I track if my SSN is at risk after this? If you go to identitytheft.gov, they'll be able to assess your risk. And then to sign, one of the options would be for credit monitoring. You can shut down, you can freeze your credit. So those are some options. But if you go to identitytheft.gov, that's a good starting point. Can you provide the website to send my question regarding QR codes? You're going to put the BACP outreach email in the chat box, correct?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, great. And then I don't think that we have any other questions. You see a couple new message came in. Oh, that's you. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope you learned something useful and make sure that you stay safe shopping out there.
Thank you. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you get credit for today's webinar by logging on to chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Again, that's chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Thank you, Marianne, and thank you. Continue to have a good day.
Thank you so much.